we got to talk about SVB Bank and how social media played a role in this whole run on the bank, and also for the word getting out from influencers to help get the Fed involved, the government involved, to help backstop it. If you don't know who I am, Kip Russell. I'm an influencer with nearly 1 million followers. Been at the social game since the MySpace days. I work at SVB Tech. I help some of the biggest brands and celebrities in the world consult on their social media strategies. Live and breathe this stuff, so I'm sharing with you guys everything that I've been paying attention to in the space that's important to me. And this is a really big story because it's interesting to see how key players use social media to actually move the market, use the PR to get the government to take action, and really helped a lot of little people out. So I'm going to walk you through it. I am no financial expert, so I'll do my best real quick, fastly, to get you through what happened with Silicon Valley Bank. So if you're just trying to understand quickly, the bank basically helped startups mostly in the West Coast, and they got an influx of cash 2019 to 2021 when money was right all over the place. They got all this cash from these startups, so they put, to keep cash in the bank, and then basically took loans out, bought bonds, hedging against just their cash in the bank. If you need more information, just go to like Meet Kevin or somebody. It'll give you the better deal. So now in 2022, the Fed raises the rates, and startups aren't getting money, right? Because the economy is slowing down. Interest rates are up. Startups are just basically burning through cash. So they're pulling out money, and there's no new money coming in. So essentially, the bank, and what the shadiest part of this whole thing is the C-suite sold their bank stock at SVB a few weeks before this got leaked. The bank then said they're going to have to sell bonds at a loss, and then they're going to have to raise capital, maybe $2 million, to cover the cash flow that they needed in the situation, which triggered all sorts of things, like they're going to get buyouts. Then this, through social media, became a big panic, right? So the startup community started texting, making videos, posting on Twitter, hey, what's going on? Should we be pulling our money out? It basically caused a run on the bank through the word of mouth, going crazy through social media. And then it broke through mainstream media. Everyone was freaking out. Is this 2008? This is our Black Swan event, and all of a sudden all the banks and people are going to go crazy. So the big marketing move was by influencers like Mark Cuban, David Sachs. I'll read a couple of their tweets here. Who's the other guy? Bill Ackman. They use their following, and actually they have a presence. I think David Sachs has the All In podcast, which I watch, which is basically these really billionaires who have a lot of influence over the government, talking about policy and bigger picture stuff. He's tweeting, where's Powell? Where's Yellen? Stop the crisis now. Announce that depositors will be safe. Place SVB with the top 4 bank. Do this before Monday, or there will be a contagion that will spread the crisis. They were worried that all the banks, like a Wintrust in Chicago, these regional, bigger banks, are going to be in similar positions. Small businesses and people like normal people with their money, hoping that they're safe in the bank, that aren't really making any interest anymore, that are going to pull out cash, put it somewhere else, put it in a big bank, put it in PayPal, whatever it is, and it's going to be a massive banking situation, just like 2008. So they're putting the world out. Bill Ackman, the government, has about 48 hours. They're really pushing this. I watched the All In podcast, I think, on Friday or Saturday morning, and everything that they were pushing for basically happened on Monday. Mark Cuban, or Sunday night, I think they might even announce that they're going to back the bank, and I'll get into that really quickly. So I think Mark Cuban said the tragedy of the SVB is not the wealthy taking the hit. The thousands of companies who borrowed from SVB that were required to keep their cash in the bank, those entrepreneurs and their employees and their vendors are feeling the pain, and they're the one we should protect. So unlike 2008, when the government bailed out the banks and the banks let the little guys burn, here the government's backing the depositors, so people, the little guys, the small businesses, and letting the employees burn here, which I think is a much better move. I think back in the day, a lot of those executives at bigger banks, they were fine, they got bailed out, and then they let the little guys and the business owners burn. I have people that I know got hurt in that. So I think that it seems like a good solution. I think for the most part, this is happier. The markets seem to be reacting in a good way, and it's good to see social media moving this fast. Well, this could have been a long process of a month, or something, and the spread could have happened. People jumped in, used their voice, caused pressure on the government, and they actually took action. I'm not a financial expert on this, but I will say that how that social media and using PR and the right messaging got the right people to make the right action. I think I remember listening to the All In podcast, this is literally these people have skin in the game, and they're fighting for that skin that they have in the game. And I think they fought for the little guy finally, and also so they sell off the bank's assets, and then they were saying that a lot of people in the bank, let's say you had $1 million in the bank, you were going to get 70 cents, 80 cents to the dollar back of your money if this bank went under and they sold it for scraps or whatever. So it's good to see that there's some stability there. I don't know if this is capitalism at work or socialism, but it's interesting to see it play out. I'm not on either side of the fence. I'm still trying to understand it, but I'm just giving you guys how really social media drives the cultural conversation. I actually think it says a lot about Twitter still having that real cultural relevance and owning sort of like that breakout news, and also owns really the most publicly facing of the platforms. We'll get into that later. I have a couple thoughts on that. There's been some stuff about Twitter leaking, but we'd love to know what you guys think. Was it the right situation? What did you think about it? Were you guys watching it? Leave a comment below. Let's dive into the next story. We got to talk about the article The Verge just published saying, this is how social media sites fail, and they were referring to Twitter and saying that it shows all the signs of other sites like Friendster and LiveJournal and Tumblr, that this could be a site that's on the verge of failing. And they get into a couple points. They say LiveJournal and Tumblr in particular, because that's part of my era, had a really vibrant culture. It was really user-driven. You could actually build your website on Tumblr. Back in the day, I think it was really peaked maybe 2008, 2012. I think it sold in 2013, I think, if that's correct. But Tumblr was this really kind of like weirdly vibrant community, kind of had a little bit of like, a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of Blogger at the time, and you could do, like reshare parts of your website. It was an interesting place. Some of the things that drove it were it was a super artsy, was very like pornographically artsy, and it had millions of users, and it was really like this creative outlet. It was kind of more of like a rebellious place at the time. And then they sold it to Yahoo. Yahoo killed the nude, got really corporate. The blog sort of era sort of faded with it, and it pushed creators off the platform and then eventually failed. And I think if you really look at what's going on Twitter, if you're not just a headline reader, the community is still stronger than ever. I think the story that we just talked about shows how the key players in the world culturally still use Twitter as their main source of public communication, especially during times when they're culturally relevant or really important. I think even more with Elon driving a lot of that, because Elon's one of the most famous people in the world. He drives a lot of the communication there. He participates in the culture. And I think it got bought by a power user versus got bought by some conglomerate that wants to kind of water it down and make it corporate. And I think if you look at like Facebook, if you look at TikTok, you look at YouTube, it's still some of the founders had played a much longer term role in keeping the environment more of true to the essence of it. And I think that's what ultimately Elon is doing through all the drama. If you're really focused on it, he's trying to keep it a vibrant, community-driven place where you can have these back and forth conversations. He's trying to pull back some of the corporate aspect of it. He calls it woke culture, whatever you want, but he's really trying to foster it as the water cooler of the world, is the way I always describe it. And I'm still seeing very relevant information on it. I'm seeing better and better stuff, more interesting to me on it. I'm actually a Twitter Blue subscriber. I've not seen any crashes. So I'm not saying he's doing everything right. There's definitely lots of room for improvement on Twitter. I don't think the product has degraded at all. I think more power users who are maybe on it longer than me, I may be on it 15, 20 minutes a day, are experiencing it. It's still a great place to go to what's trending, to see what relevant news. So I think while The Verge is maybe part of the coup trying to take down and negatively publicize Elon, I don't think that Twitter is showing the signs that these people think. I do think advertisers are still scared. I do think there's other things, but just like Garyvee announced, and we'll get into some more Garyvee news, this is a place that now has a little bit of underpriced attention, and maybe you should be experimenting with some ads. You should be experimenting with some strategies there, and I am seeing lots of entrepreneurs and really smart marketers do really well on Twitter. So I don't think this is a LiveJournal, a Tumblr, a MySpace era. Twitter didn't sell to some random place that wants to water it down and make the product worse. I think he's going to eventually figure out the product roadmap, and you're going to see some good growth. I think there's a lot on the table, and we'll do another video following up to talk about how much I think Twitter could be interesting. And again, he's done some cool things like adding the view count. People haven't. I think that's nice. It kind of gives if you get a limited engagement, you might see, it still reached 2,000 people, but the engagement was low. But you still get to see that you're reaching people. I think that's interesting. I don't think that's super new to social media enthusiasts. But I do think because a power user is the guy leading it, there's going to be a little bit more strategy, a little bit about product-focused improvements. And I think over time, you'll see Twitter go back to growth. Even though they're saying all these things that it's the most used ever or whatever, it's still relevant. I just think Twitter really has an identity. And in a world where Instagram and Facebook are struggling with their identity, they're still big, they're still large. TikTok really owns the culture, fun, entertainment community, and it's really winning in some of the education space. YouTube still has that long form thought leader, sort of like long form content. Kids love YouTube. It has a really good brand with kids. If as Meta and Instagram and Facebook find their cultural footprint again, we might see some more growth. We're going to dive into another Meta story right now, but I think Twitter still has that core space where, hey, something's breaking, there's some news, I want to dive in and see what's happening in the world today. Twitter's the best place you're going to get that information. Better than CNN, better than Fox, better than all these other craps. And you're going to get multiple sides of the view, and I would encourage you to always look at multiple sides of the picture. Any news story, the positive, negative, the right, the left, just to understand where's maybe the ground and the truth within that. Speaking of Zucks and Meta and them finding their identity, we have to talk about Facebook pausing their Reels bonus program. If you don't know what the Reels bonus program was, it basically was a counter to TikTok's Creator Fund, where you basically got paid per view. The TikTok Creator Fund notoriously wasn't great, but it did motivate people. They've done some great things on TikTok, even though they're struggling right now too with incentivizing creators like missions and TikTok Creator Hub. They're doing a lot of good things, but it forced Meta's hand to actually start this revenue share a little bit with creators. So myself, it became a great place. Not only is Reels on Facebook and Instagram triggered in the algorithm and you're seeing great performance like TikTok 2020, 2021, you were actually making some really good money, better than TikTok. I was doing millions of views on TikTok and making a couple $100. I was doing a million views on Instagram and growing crazy lately and was making a couple $100. It was great. So I was encouraging tons of people to get on it. It's free money. It's great for the platform. And just like YouTube, which has been the best platform at actually giving creators monetizing tools so people can make a full-time or very strong part-time living off YouTube, TikTok has now forced everyone's hand. So now Meta and them are jumping into the space. And while I do think it's a big bummer that Reels is pausing this for the time being, they are working on, similar to YouTube, who just launched Shorts monetization, they're working on a better rev share plan for creators within Reels and within Facebook and Instagram in general. That is the way this has to go, or I do see Facebook losing. I was saying Facebook has momentum over TikTok. Finally, YouTube, to me, in Shorts has the momentum. I think it's going to be the winner of this horse race. Unless TikTok can get through some of this difficult waters they're in. But Meta really needs to figure out how to take care of the creators and balance that with their ad platform and user experience. It's going to be a difficult road ahead, and I hope the creator rev share is as easy as Reels bonuses was, or I see this being a really, even for someone like me who was almost off Instagram, this got me back on Instagram. I started using the channel more, and really was seeing this as a place I wanted to focus on over TikTok. But now I'm like, well, let's see, maybe it's Shorts. So I think this is the battle of the creators. I've been talking about it for 2 years. Whoever can get the creator monetization right will win this battle. We got to talk about Garyvee says Facebook Reels are the best underpriced attention in the social media landscape. I've had clients and wrestled with people on this lately, but what we're seeing on Facebook and Instagram Reels, I just mentioned in that other segment, is you're seeing almost that virality content that worked on TikTok in 2020 and 2021 really working well on Reels. You're seeing a lot more reach in these platforms, and even though Instagram just mentioned they might be leveling the photos and Reels out this year, Facebook Reels is what Garyvee is saying is the best underpriced attention, and you should be doubling down on that tactic right now, making sure that you're posting there. He's saying, his whole theory is underpriced attention is what he's best at, and he's saying Facebook Reels is the place to play. If you guys don't understand Facebook, it still has the scale of all the social networks, including TikTok. The only one that's actually bigger than Facebook, I think, is YouTube all in, and you do have that 35 to really, senior citizens, 75, 80 plus, using the channel more and more still. Maybe that middle age, my age, is either dabbling on TikTok and Reels, but Facebook's still a place that we check, weekly, daily. So Reels has a lot of scale and a lot of ability to go, and advertisers are getting a little bit wonky on Facebook, so you're seeing more inventory. And this is a new place, so once people go into that Reels, you have a lot of opportunity for inventory right now until the ads catch up with it and all that other good stuff. So double down on it. If Garyvee's saying it's most likely really, really true, he's really off with this one. The last story we're going to talk about, there's an article saying Spotify wants to be more like TikTok. And I think TikTok obviously has its struggles right now. It has China going on. It has the negative press. It has struggling with the creator monetization part of it. Some of the bigger creators leaving for YouTube Shorts and other areas. They've had notoriously bad community guidelines. TikTok's still winning because it is a great app in terms of serving you content that you want to see, that micro content. But Spotify, I think what they're realizing, if you haven't really paid attention, I'm a musician as well in this space, TikTok has gotten into music. They have a partnership with TuneCore to do distribution of music. If all goes well with sort of like the big band that's going on now, they're going to start a label version of this. And I think streaming was going to be naturally a next wave for TikTok. Music is so built, obviously it came from Musical.ly, it's so built into the core of the app. It really has done the best thing ever at creating an easy place for artists and other creators to weave music within the creative through just pulling in the sound and attaching it and giving it exposure, through making music trends, through having people tell interesting story through lyrics, through speeding up and slowing down songs. So only natural that TikTok would then move that to a streaming platform that they can make money on. And I think Spotify, whether they know it or not, is making a move to get in front of that. And so they're adding a vertical video feed. They're making what Spotify basically in this article mentioned is that they would give sort of that algorithmic review, but all they had to really trigger people to listen to something was an album cover and a description, which often can be completely different than the song. So what they're moving to is that they're moving to that TikTok style 30-second clips from artists. And I was mentioning this on a few videos before. Is going to give a visual, so sort of like when MTV came into the market, you could see, hey, this artist looks interesting. They seem to be rapping or singing. It seems like a ballad. I'm going to actually click on this versus just the album cover and title. And what the CEO of actually Spotify said is they couldn't see in the data why people were skipping things, so they would consistently show them songs that they thought they should look at, but the user just couldn't connect through the artwork and the copy that this is something I should listen to. So instead, now they're going to get a 30-second scrollable video piece of content from that song, and the artist, and then they can see if someone watched that 30 seconds. So watch time is the key metric on all channels right now, and that's what I'm trying to get to the point of this video. So if someone watches 15 seconds of that clip, they know, they can see in the data that they saw this video and they consumed it for X. So if they didn't click into the song, they're just not going to show them that video again. If they watched 15 seconds and clicked into it and listened to the song, then they might recommend this or something similar to that video. So Spotify has to kind of counteract they're focused on long form content too. So it's like Spotify, TikTok, all these places are starting to converge into sort of a certain short form nuggets of content, which is like the gateway drug into longer form pillar content like podcasts or music videos or this type of content, educational. So it's really the guy. I feel like this whole video is Garyvee based, but you have to document, you have to have long form pillar content, whether it's audio, podcasts, music videos, and then use that short form content as the gateway drug for your brand. And you need to think about series content and a lot of things. So if I see one video from a brand or a creator that I'm only going to follow you if I'm going to see more of that type of content. So it's an easy win is to create and test series of content so people can come back and ask for more. Well, I felt like I talked a lot, 22 minutes of good content. If you guys like this, please like and share and subscribe. I'm doing my best to give you guys the most up-to-date information in social media, digital space, creator space, how to monetize, all that other good stuff. Follow me on other sites. Thanks for sticking around. Peace.